Congratulations on your promotion. You may call me BT.
BT. Got it.
I shall call you Optimus.
My systems are
Yo, what is up guys, it's Tyrant Swine here, and welcome to another game review. This time I am reviewing Titanfall 2, the sequel to Titanfall. Now, Titanfall 2, unlike Titanfall 1, actually has a campaign story, and it begins with a militia soldier called Jack Cooper, and after an incident where he was performing his pilot training, he had to go into action, and then he finds that one of the pilot soldiers apparently dies, and then he has to take over his Titan called BT-7274. So Jack Cooper and BT now have to complete a mission that the pilots have been ordered to do, and basically complete it. Now, it's practically the story of the game, but it's a bit more than that, since they have to also avoid a lot of obstacles, and it also involves time travel and stuff like that. So the story in Titanfall 2 mainly revolves around the relationship that develops between Jack Cooper and BT, which was honestly pretty decent in my opinion. I think it was actually honestly done well, and you can even choose a few dialogue options in conversations at times during the campaign. And of course the story does change quite a lot from time to time, like you have to find a certain other pilot to gain orders, have to relay a signal to the fleet, and then you have to try and stop the IMC from basically achieving their objectives while also killing their primary mercenary guys and stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on in Titanfall 2 in such a short amount of time, which sadly does not help it, since the campaign took me over 6 hours to do, and it was fun. For a short game, for a short campaign, it was actually pretty fun. And since Titanfall 1 didn't have a campaign, it does make a lot of sense in some ways that this is quite short, and it's quite difficult to... I feel like it would be quite difficult to make a story out of Titanfall in some way, but hell, at least we actually got a story this time around, and honestly, despite it being short, it was still well done. I mean, yes, there is yes, Jack Cooper and BT are the only characters worth giving a damn about, since all the others are either the mercenaries or just people you don't really know and have just been added in. But nonetheless, the campaign and the story was honestly done pretty damn well, and honestly I did like it in the end. Now, the way the game turns out, the way the missions go about in the story, it actually, even though the game and the story is short, the levels and the design of the levels have all been particularly done very well. Each mission, despite there only being 9 missions, did feel nice and long. It took me like half an hour to 45 minutes to complete each one of them. But I was really thinking there was more missions than 9. Hell, I thought there was at least 10 or so at some point, but no. There was only 9, which I felt like, which is the reason why the game is short in some ways. There's only 9 missions, but 9 missions for a game like this is usually the average for for FPSs. And honestly, but the way the levels were, I actually did like the way the levels were designed. Like, you go from a jungle cliff type area, you go from a secret research facility, a comm tower, a sort of sewer-like area. You even go into the air, like in the air at points, going onto airships and stuff like that, and that was really exciting too. A lot of sequences in this game were really exciting, which is why I did like it. And yeah, the level design was really fun. It didn't look bad in any way or form. It actually did feel like you were on a pretty big journey trying to get to your objective and actually trying to save the world and stuff. It did feel so yeah, the levels were done very nicely. Not only that, there's also collectibles scattered around the place too, and these are in the form as pilot helmets. They're quite obvious when you see them and when you find them. Not really sure to give you a reward in any way or form, but they are worth getting in some. They are worth getting, I think. And there's also a few audio logs scattered around the place too, which I'm not exactly sure if they're convenient to the plot but they do help out with a bit of exposition at times. And yeah. So yeah, I did like the way the levels were designed. Not only that, the world itself, the graphics look really damn well. And not only that, you even have to not just fight against the IMC, you even have to fight against animals too. Like there's even wildlife to go up against. And I thought that made the world at least feel a little bit more alive. And so yeah, I think that was a really good decision to add in wildlife to this world, so that there's actually not just like, you know, humans and robots to fight against. Now, the enemies from the last Titanfall game, basically you were just fighting against titans and basically IMC soldiers and stuff like that. This game goes a little bit more into the nice variety of enemies, since the enemy titans that you fight against in this game, there's a lot more variety of enemies, since you had the normal IMC soldiers, you had the specters, the robot guys that you fight against. But it's not only that, there's also a few other types of enemies. It's like, there's these Reapers, which are sort of giant sort of mechs, and then you also have a few new type of IMC enemies to fight against. Like, some soldiers have this sort of riot shield to help fight against you, and there's even these little exploding spider things called tickers, and these guys are a pain in the ass to fight against. Most of my deaths in this game were probably mostly from them, or just me being stupid, but this game, the difficulty, doing it on normal it's not too bad. I did die a few times, though most of it was mainly from me being stupid, but sometimes I did end up dying, sometimes just from falling in a bad way. But honestly, the difficulty of this game isn't too bad, but I would recommend doing it on the hard difficulty, because in some ways it didn't feel entirely challenging. But yeah, another thing, the enemies, not only that, there is a few boss type enemies in this game, like the mercenaries I've said before. They aren't really linked to the IMC, they've mainly been hired by them. And pretty much you take on each and every one of them, apart from one who somehow escapes in the end, which is kind of annoying. But each of these boss battles range from being pretty easy to being pretty hard. The first few were pretty easy, but it was mainly the final two that were the more difficult ones, especially the one called Viper. He was a pain in the ass, and you had to be really smart with which loadout you choose, because BT, you can even unlock, find weapons for your loadout for him over the course of the game to fight against enemy titans. And it was really difficult trying to find a loadout would best suit against Viper. And you have to be really careful when you're fighting him. But other than that, the enemies are pretty decent enough to fight, and of course, since there's a nice variety of weapons throughout the game, it's best to use as much as you can to take them on. So yeah, honestly, the enemies in this game were pretty difficult, were varied from either being difficult or easy. It really depended on which section of the game and how it was done. Now let's talk about the multiplayer. Now the multiplayer is pretty much the best part of Titanfall, of both of them. Titanfall 1 mainly relied on being an MMO and relying on its multiplayer aspect, which it did very well. But the thing about Titanfall 1 is that it lacked a lot of customization, and pretty much it lacked a lot of things to Titanfall's multiplayer. But Titanfall 2 nicely listens to us and actually gives us a lot more content. We get a lot more weapons, more titans, hell, you get a lot of paint schemes for your weapons, titan and your pilot, and hell, you get a lot more stuff in your loadout system too. There is a lot more things in the multiplayer in this game. Not sure about there being more maps. I think that they're the same amount for those, but honestly, there's a lot more stuff in this game, which is really good. And the loadout system's a little bit more different. There is a few new powers for your loadout system too, like, for some of them you have like a grapple hook to get to ledges, you have a stim boost which will let you run quicker. There's a lot of nice accessories to help you out in combat, and when to use them is also very nice. Of course, the cards, or something, that were in the first Titanfall game aren't in this one anymore, and honestly I didn't feel like they were useful anyway in some way or form. And so yeah, it was really nice that they got rid of those, because I didn't really care about them very much. So if So the way the loadout system has been done, the amount of customization is, since you can unlock camos for your guns, your pilot, and even your Titan, it has been done very well. And there is also a lot more. There's a few new Titans as well. One's like the Ronin, which is a pretty cool one. And yeah, there's a lot more. There's a few more Titans in this game compared to the first one, and they each have their own loadouts and weapons and stuff like that. Unlike the first Titanfall game, where you could give your Titan whatever weapon you would want to give them, this one they had their own specific weapons and abilities, which I felt is a nice amount because each of them has their own variety. And so yeah, then there's been a few other things like the way that it's, again, you have the AI and the normal players too fighting alongside each other. I think these would, once again, it feels balanced, just the same as the first Titanfall. Like, most of the time, sometimes you don't really run into the pilots, but at times you will, and it is very easy to kill the pilots too. It's very easy to die in this game, but since the game relies more on moving around than camping and stuff like that in other first-person shooters, I think they've done a very good call on making it very easy to kill each other, because sometimes I don't even see some people for a good while, and yeah. Now there's a few more things like the weapons. Each of them were very nice and well, since there is a lot more weaponry in this game compared to the first Titanfall, which had pretty much one of each weapon class. In this game, there's a lot more weaponry in this game, which is a very good thing, since that's what I thought about the first Titanfall, was its lack of weaponry. This one, there is a nice wide variety of weapons for both the Titans and even the pilots. And the customization, there's a lot of customization in this game, surprisingly enough. The maps are nicely designed too, each of them. They even have some returning maps from the first Titanfall, and there's a few new game modes as well, like you have your usual attrition from the first Titanfall. You even have pilot versus pilot, which is a pretty nice addition, and Last Titan Standing, not sure if that was in the first Titanfall or not, but it feels like it was. There is a lot of nice, decent game modes. You even have Capture the Flag in some of your normal game modes. So yeah, overall, the game, Titanfall 2, has honestly, it's got a very good multiplayer, a decent campaign. The only thing that really lets it down is its length. And so yeah, the multiplayer does feel balanced too in different ways, but basically, whoever gets their Titans out first is the ones who technically win the match, unless the other side is able to coordinate their efforts to take down the enemy team's Titans. And so yeah, so honestly, overall, I think Titanfall 2 is honestly a very decent sequel. It's pretty much the Titanfall game we should have got in the first place. And I'm honestly surprised how well this game has turned out. So overall, I'm going to give Titanfall 2 a 9 out of 10. So that is my review of Titanfall 2, the Titanfall game we deserved in the first place. And honestly, overall, this is probably a very good sequel to a game that only needed just a few extra things, and then it would have been a very fine game. Now all it needs now, if they ever do another Titanfall game, is just to make the campaign a little bit longer, and then we could actually have a 10 out of 10 game, and if the story is also just as decent. So yeah, hope you guys have enjoyed this review. Leave a like, subscribe, comment down below what you think is right or wrong with the game, and I shall see you guys in the next random video.